right there. And speaking of quarterbacks potentially leaving their destination, let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks. And the big drama around Seattle this offseason is, of course, the Russell Wilson situation. Dating back to last year, prior to the season, there were a lot of rumors that Wilson and the Seattle organization were at odds, and that Wilson and potentially wanted to trade out. In fact, there was some real development potentially to a place like Chicago, where Wilson would potentially get traded. Those rumors and discussions have started to begin already this offseason. Ian Rappaport has reported that Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson is evaluating all options this offseason, wants to explore his options to see what else might be out there for him. So it's already started, the Russell Wilson, the Seattle Seahawks, this drama. Another little layer of it is when Russell Wilson went on the Manning cast a few weeks ago, he entered into a specific agreement with the Manning brothers to not talk about his future at the Seattle Seahawks. So it's clear this is a sensitive subject for Seattle and Russell Wilson and what they're going to do moving forward. I've got a few thoughts on this, but I'm curious what your take is and what you think is going to happen.
So I think Wilson's going to leave. I think he's done with Pete Carroll. I think Pete Carroll got very lucky his first couple seasons in Seattle, drafting that great defense, drafting Wilson, because they really haven't had many hits after that, so to speak. The biggest hit they've had was DK Metcalf, who's good, but that's one in maybe 7-8 years. The one thing I do like is everyone comping Russell Wilson being the new quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's something I can get behind because there's a couple of comparisons to the Steelers to the old Legion of Boom Seahawks that Russell Wilson thrived in so well. You've got the Martellus Bennett-esque star pass rusher. You got TJ Watt out there, who's probably 10 times better than Martellus Bennett ever was. Great pass rusher, great outside linebacker. You've got some ball hawking safeties in Minkah Fitzpatrick, some decent corners, a solid linebacker like a Bobby Wagner going behind the line back there. There's a lot of good comparisons to the Steelers defense, to the old Seahawks defense. And I think that is what Russell Wilson thrived on, is knowing that he had a solid defense to help him either get the turnovers to make the big plays on offense happen, or if he falls short, knowing that he has someone to rely on. What are you thinking about this situation? What do you think is going to happen?
So the easiest comp I could think of with Russell Wilson was what happened with Tom Brady and the Patriots. Just like Brady, Wilson wants to feel valued and appreciated for what he's done for Seattle. And he's done a lot. He is far and away the biggest, most popular player in franchise history. Steve Largent, Walter Jones, Sean Alexander, love you guys, but Wilson is leaps and bounds ahead of you.
Won a Super Bowl, for God's sake.
Won a Super Bowl, went to another one, won a lot of playoff games, went to a playoff games. They won the division last year. I think they made the playoffs last year. So he's done so much for this team. And he's fought through injuries. He came back early with the thumb to try and make a run. It obviously didn't work out this offseason, but he wants to feel appreciated, just like Brady did, right? And I think Brady ended up leaving New England because the supporting cast around him outside of the Patriots was telling him, his trainer, his wife, saying, hey, go somewhere else. That's kind of what we're seeing with Russell Wilson, right? There's no talk from Wilson that he wants to leave, but those around him, there's rumors saying those close to him, his agent and his team around him is making those calls, say, hey, maybe we want to get out of here. And I think Wilson, the move to Pittsburgh is so comparable to what Brady did to Tampa, right? Because, before Brady went to Tampa, everyone's like, Tampa's got a great roster. They just need to be better at quarterback, right? Because they're stuck with Jameis Winston. Steelers are the same way. Look, they had a really good roster. Roethlisberger was old. He couldn't move anymore. He was limited. Russell Wilson comes in. He fits in right away with what they want to do. Steelers have a lot of weapons, right? Obviously, Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Freiermuth, good young tight end, Najee Harris, great defense. You already mentioned a lot of those guys. Like, they've got the pieces in place, great fan base, great organization, veteran coach. Like, it all is kind of like this perfect environment cocoon for Russell Wilson to come into and have a lot of success. Now, I think he stays in Seattle. And here's why. I think he feels that he owes Seattle something. I think the fact that whether it was the interception against the Patriots that cost him a championship or whatever, I think he feels like he owes that franchise something, for maybe starting him over Matt Flynn. I think he stays this year now, or I think he wants to stay this year. I think the Seahawks are going to listen to some offers, because keep in mind, Russell Wilson has 2 years left on his deal. So this is the time to trade Russell Wilson, because if you wait till next year, you're not going to get as much for him, because he's going to trade for a 35-year-old quarterback who's got 1 year on his deal. I mean, it's just not a good trade to make. So this is the time for the Seahawks to trade him. And I really think they make a move, or at least they listen to a lot of phone calls. They did it last year. And I agree with you that Pittsburgh is a great potential destination for Russell Wilson.
I think really one thing we need to key in on here, though, is that really can help us see what is going on. We need to start tracking Sierra. We need to see where she's doing business, where she's looking for houses. Is their house for sale? We got to follow her on Twitter. I mean, that is the key here. Just much like Giselle is the key to Brady, we got to see what Sierra wants. What's she thinking? Has she sent passive-aggressive, cryptic tweets about the Seahawks? Because if so, there might be a change afoot.
You're not wrong there, right? For all kidding aside, obviously Pittsburgh's not exactly a glamorous town, but it is more East Coast. Like Seattle's upper Northwest, West Coast, no one even hears about them. It's sort of a ghost town. You almost never see Seahawks games because they're always, unless you're on the West Coast, that's when they're broadcast. We live on the East Coast. It's really, really hard to see a Seahawks game at 4:30. When the normal time slot, you just kind of read a lot about the Seahawks, but you don't see them a whole lot on TV. You go to Pittsburgh, they're all on TV all the time. They got the rivalry matchups, the big games. They've been to the playoffs all the time with big matchups against the Chiefs and teams like that. Like, going to Pittsburgh gives Russell Wilson a lot of face time. And like you said, gives Ciara and company back closer to the East Coast. A lot of opportunities there. I think the Ciara angle is interesting, but I think Russell Wilson, I think he wants to stay, but he may find himself on the East Coast before too much longer.
We will just have to wait and see what happens. But nonetheless, this is a very enticing story. I'm very excited to see any updates. And as always, we will keep you posted if anything changes in this situation.